Hello and welcome to the Everything F1 podcast. Joining me, Seán, this evening to preview the Bahrain Grand Prix, the second of this current triple header, is Coops. Evening, Coops.
Hello, how's it going?
Good, thanks. And Thiemo, how are you?
Not too bad yourself.
Good, thanks. Same crew as before. Busy weekend of Formula One as we get into a triple header, and we are going to, of course, preview the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is coming up this Sunday. Before we do, we are Everything F1. You can check us out on all socials at JoinEF1 or at EF1 Official on TikTok. Do visit us on YouTube as well. You find us there, Everything F1, all one word. Give us a like and a subscribe over there if you wouldn't mind, please. We have a lot of big plans for YouTube this year, and we need your help to do it. So if you wouldn't mind, head over to YouTube, hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the channel, and give us a hand out there. That would be great. We have a lot of exciting stuff there. Also, check out our website, everythingf1.com, for daily news and articles. We're particularly busy now at the moment. As I said, we're in a triple header, and as we spoke about the other day in the Japanese review, there's lots of talking points. Red Bull have had their moment of the sun. We might be getting to Alpine next very soon. So we will keep you updated on everything at everythingf1.com. Finally, if you want any F1 or motorsport merch this season, if you're going to races or you're just a fan and you want to deck yourself out in the newest gear, check out our sponsors, theraceworks.com, and use our code EF1 at checkout for 10% off site wide. Right then, Bahrain Grand Prix. As we said in the Japan review, Timo, it can only get better. So, are you looking forward this weekend to the Bahrain Grand Prix?
I am, and I may be naive, I may be wildly optimistic, but that's just what you've got to do sometimes, I think. And Bahrain in the past has given us some very juicy races with plenty to enjoy, and it is nice as much as I'd prefer it to be a morning race in terms of going from dark into light, as it would have been a great way to start off a season if we had started there. Having it just at night as it is at the moment is still great with the cars and the lights look fabulous there. And I think with the heat that we're going to get, echoing a comment Mark Webber made over the weekend, we might be in for a two-stopper, which at this point we just need to have some interesting stuff, as we talked about in the Japanese Grand Prix review. You can really push the cars then. There's no kind of cautionary tales happening anywhere. Everyone's just got to go full for it, have those battles. We can have plenty of overtakes on multiple parts of the track with and without DRS. Obviously, you've got the two back-to-back DRS traits, but as Fernando Alonso proved on Lewis Hamilton a couple of years ago, turn 10, I think, you can easily slide in there with surprisingly enough of room there. And as other drivers have proven in turn 4 and even turns 5 and 6, you can risk it and just about make it and get that biscuit. So I'm hoping that we have an interesting Grand Prix, and I think it's another track where once we're at the end of this triple header, we're definitely going to have more of an understanding of where everyone sits in the pecking order. And because we had testing there, but we didn't go straight back there, it might not be as clear cut as we're getting used to this season. And possibly I'll just settle for whoever gets pole doesn't win, which is now going to be typical of a driver I want on pole not winning. But there we go.
Well, that's an interesting point you made there because obviously we have preseason testing here as we have done for several years now, but where previously Bahrain has acted as the opening Grand Prix for the last several years, it's gone back to Australia now. And last year, the Grand Prix last year was on the 2nd of March, so well over a month later. So, Coops, is this the first, as Timo suggested there, is this the first kind of proper test, the track that they've tested at, they all know, the exception being Lawson and Sonoda in cars that they didn't test in preseason, but also, as we spoke about during the Japan review, it's a bigger track. There are more opportunities for overtake. We've had some classics here. The Duel in the Desert in 2014 always springs to mind. What do you rate of Bahrain? Are you excited for this weekend?
Oh yeah. I quite like Bahrain. I don't know why. Maybe it's the subconscious thing of I tend to like the tracks that I can do well when I used to play it on the computer, because I'm awful at driving games. Uh, so
Into runoff
yeah,
area.
yes, there's a lot of runoff area and there's flashbacks. That was a good thing about those games. Uh, I just don't put myself through it anymore. For anyone that's asking, uh, no, I do enjoy it. It's a track that, as you say, it's wide. It's most people, even if you're not in the car you started the season with, will know what's going on. The higher temperatures should add an extra bit of a dimension to it, as we saw the colder temperature in Japan kind of limited what were the spectacle and how the race could have panned out. So yeah, I think, and also to caveat as well, I'm actually looking forward to watching Formula One in the afternoon. This is quite good for us in the UK.
Yeah, it certainly is. We don't have a late race in our time zone until Vegas, I think.
Is it
uh,
late?
The
that's
next awkward
late.
one. Yeah. Next awkward one. Yes, Bahrain this weekend. Let's have a quick look at the track details. So, course length is 5.412 kilometers in its current guise. There have been multiple different versions of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but the main one that we race on every year is 5.412 kilometers. It'd be 57 lap race, just over 308 kilometers. And as Thiemo correctly suggested, it is set to be scalding hot this weekend. Weather report for Sunday is highs of 32 degrees. Low enough humidity, so that'll at least help the drivers to, not cook to death, like they would in the likes of, say, Singapore or back in the days in Malaysia, where the humidity gets up to 80-90%, and that was the killer. I'm not saying 32 degrees is cold. Evening weather, it might be down about 25, but it will still be hot. That surface temperature is going to be very hot, and hopefully that does mean that we get a little bit more action from a tire strategy point of view. Pole position last time out last year was Max Verstappen. It was a 129.1. The way the cars are going this year, you could probably put a safe bet on something in the mid to low 127s this year, all going well. And last year's podium was Max in first, Sergio Perez in second. Jeez, do you remember the days when he was able to do stuff like that? And Carlos Sainz in third for Ferrari. Straight off the bat, that's a different makeup to this year, Timo. We'll get into like predictions later on, but a lot could change in a year. Sainz and Perez on the podium with Max. That is, well, entirely unlikely this year.
Definitely for one of them more than the other. I'll say that much off the bat. That's very easy to say. If we get signed on the podium for this weekend, maybe we're back in business, but who knows? Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Like I say, the difference a year makes. The rookies, a lot of them will have raced there in F2 and F3 over the years. FP1's going to be worth watching this weekend as well because we've got three drivers that are currently announced to be sitting out in place of rookies coming in,
Mm.
which is always going to be exciting, especially in the heat of Bahrain. They're used to it, but not necessarily F1 machinery too much. I think it's Dino Beganovic, Luke Browning, and Felipe Drugovich. So bit of a mixture. They've all had a bit of experience, but again, it's nice to see that at a track where it makes sense. And I think if you'd pick doing out of the car anywhere, it would have been here, but that's something for another day.
Mm.
But yeah, everything's kind of teed up nicely to be quite interesting weekend. And as I say, you've got F2 and F3 having drivers raced there before. They are also back this weekend. So if you like your feeder series action, you are spoiled for choice. And I don't think there's too much of a risk of the F2 feature race getting washed out this weekend. So you're going to get a full weekend of racing from all of them, I'd say, barring any weird pesting red flag calamities.
Oh, I sincerely hope so. I'm a big fan of F2 and F3. Obviously, Alex Dunn, big fan of his. Let's hope that he can have a good weekend in Formula 2 this year. Well, this weekend in particular. Coops, though, Max is on a bit of a streak here, which won't surprise many people. He's won the last two races. He won in 23 and 24. Is he going to make it back to back? We were all very, very surprised that he stuck it on pole in Japan. Even he was surprised he put it on pole in Japan, and it was a lights the flag victory. But I suppose the big question for this weekend is: will Max continue that, or given the race pace, test they did in the preseason test, is this McLaren's to kind of take the swing and the news back in their direction this weekend?
No, I mean, I don't think it's swung too far away from McLaren, in all honesty, from Suzuka. So I think McLaren's will still be the cars to beat. If anyone's going to beat them, it's probably going to be Max.
Mm.
I don't think Ferrari have quite got things together. I don't think that Mercedes are quite at that point. They're still in that do nothing for 99% of the race and appear in fourth or fifth or third or whatever it is that George Russell tends to do. So no, it's difficult. I can't say it with too much confidence after the performance he did at Suzuka and that lap that he put in and how he managed to keep things where he did. You can never write him off. You can never say, "Oh, definitely not, 100%." Like it's almost like when he was dominating, you could pretty much guarantee he was going to win, and we kind of breezed over it. Yeah, Max is first, right? So anyway, who's second and third?
Mm.
And again, it's almost a similar. It's almost very similar in a sense of even with inferior machinery, which even he said he's not a fan of, you still can't write him off because you could just fling it in there and get first, or he could be second and get himself in front. Because let's face it, the first few corners in Bahrain are pretty good for getting things mixed up and people diving down insides and getting round the outsides and getting themselves in positions for the next part of that. So, do I think he will? Probably not. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Yeah, Max did get in front of the McLarens.
To make another reference that I'm sure you'll enjoy, it does feel like whenever he's in inferior power or not expected to do what he usually has done for the past few years, kind of from the midpoint on of last year, is to be Barney Grubble in the meme with Mo, and Mo chucks him out and he just appears right behind you and you're like, Jesus, how did you get there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good way of putting it. And again, we spoke about it in the Japan review that McLaren and Red Bull are approaching the season in a similar way, but for different reasons. McLaren's approach is get both drivers on the podium all the time, and they'll run away with the Constructors' Championship because that for the team is the one that matters. And the sooner they do that, the sooner the boys can start crashing into each other and fighting for the drivers. On the flip side of it, Christian Horner admitted in Japan that they don't care about the constructors this week, and Coops, you rightly pointed out, that's a PR spin because there's no way do their investors and their board not care about the Constructors' Championship. But their approach for that is if Max is just on the podium all the time, well, then he'll win the Drivers' Championship because all the others are going to be taking points off each other all the time, and he's just sitting there with nobody to do that for him. And it would be that Schumacher-esque relentless consistency that will do it for even Hamilton-esque relentless consistency that'll do it for him. It does work. We've seen it multiple times. Schumacher a couple of times. Hamilton, of course. Nico Rosberg in 2016. Jenson Button. You get there, you stay there, and you can keep yourself in the conversation, keep scoring high points. That's how to win. You don't have to win every single race like Vettel used to do. But
Again, famously, Bortoletto, I think in Formula 3, won that title without winning a race.
Without winning a race, yeah, exactly. So and his Formula 2 champion, he only won one race, if I'm not wrong, one or two races. So
yeah.
Mick Schumacher won his F2 championship without winning a race. He was on the podium in almost every single race, sprint and feature race for the whole season. And it's that relentless consistency. Quick one on Ferrari then. Obviously, they had the disqualification in China a couple of weeks ago because of a low floor. There's been talk that that mandate actually came from Lewis, that he wanted the car quite low, and conspiracy theory though this may be, Ted Kravitz had a theory that in the building of the relationship between driver and engineer, driver and team, they were maybe a little bit afraid to say no to Lewis because he wanted the car lower to suit him a bit better. And they said, yeah, okay. And then they all suffered for it. Lewis was saying in Japan, he goes, the car is not set up how I want it, which you could read as it's not as low as I want it, but I now don't have a choice because it was sort of my fault and the team's fault. But big upgrades coming to the Ferrari this weekend, namely a floor update for Lewis's car in particular. Big updates coming that they are hoping will work, but will it? Thiemo, do you think this will make a difference to Ferrari? Again, perfect track to do it at.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see which way it swings on that one, because going back to what Coops was saying earlier in terms of who's going to maybe run away with it this weekend, I think if there was ever a time to throw some spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, Mercedes and Ferrari should do that this weekend, because it's one of those tracks where you can risk it a bit more and you can push everyone, you can just see, you can play your hand a little bit more, and it would be interesting to see with Ferrari how much the floor comes into it. And Ferrari have been strong here. Like you say, Carlos Sainz was on the podium here last year. Charles finished fourth, and obviously they had the 1-2 in 2022 straight off the back of it. And they were going to be on the podium regardless of what Red Bull were doing with deciding to just have their cars die on the mid-race.
Stop the last round.
Yes. So will it make a difference? It'll be interesting to see. I think if Hamilton favours that lower floor, then where he ends up in the pecking order would be quite fascinating to see. Whereas Leclerc, obviously, he's just been bedded into that team for so much longer. He's adapted to various different things that the team have done over the years. Some that have been to his liking, some that obviously going to not have been, just as that's the nature of how this all goes. So I'd expect maybe Leclerc to be the one where they protect him a little bit more and they use Hamilton as the risk taker in the way that maybe McLaren should have done in Japan with their two drivers to split the strategy. And at that point, we'll be able to see how much the floor impacts. And again, you've got all the sparks coming out, so it's going to be interesting to see. Again, you want to make sure you've measured everything damn well this time.
Yeah, very good point. Obviously, because it's a night race, we get to see a lot more of the sparks. But it's a relatively high speed track and high speed with relatively high speed corners, and high speed means that the cars are bottoming out. Coops, any other particular call outs this weekend? Aston Martin had a double point score here last year. Is that possible this weekend? Will we finally see Fernando Alonso get a point this season?
No. No, that can't.
We'll get
That
multiple
can't.
points. That's what he means. It's not going to be 1 point. It's multiple points. That's clearly what he
No,
meant.
he's not. He's that Aston Martin's a dog. I don't know what they've done. They've designed themselves into a cul-de-sac or whatever it is. They aren't able to design themselves out. They're stuck with it, and they're just flinging all the money at Adrian and hope they can fix something for 2026. I have a sneaky suspicion, like we touched on it in the last podcast, that Stroll already knows he isn't racing next year, so he just doesn't care. He's just he's just throwing it in. Qualifying last, finish last, jump in your plane, disappear, as you said in the last podcast, Sean. So yeah, I don't see Aston Martin getting anywhere near the points. I may be wrong, but I just don't see it. I just can't see it, in all honesty.
So who's ahead of them this weekend then? Is it a fight for those last points positions between Williams, Haas, and RB this weekend?
Everyone.
I was just about to say everybody else. Maybe not the stakes, maybe they're a bit there, but everyone else after that. I would probably say those three teams are probably the three teams that you're looking at to try and get some points. I would like to see Carlos Sainz kind of just get a weekend together.
Same.
I don't know what it is about Red Bull. No, I don't know what it is about the Williams that he just can't get to grips with. And then maybe that's just we're just seeing the nuances between each team's cars. When he was told that he wasn't going to be staying at Ferrari, he was an absolute machine in the Ferrari. He goes to Williams. Clearly, it's got fundamental differences, and he's just not quite grasping it. So that's probably outside of seeing how McLaren does, how Red Bull do, or Max Verstappen. I really just want to see what Carlos can do, and I really hope he can hook it together. I'll say that, and he'll be it in Q1. But that's my hope, at least.
I'd agree with you on that. I saw it on LinkedIn today that the Williams team have a big banner outside their factory in Grove that says "We are fifth in the championship right now." And I love that. I really, really love that. There's a lot of people.
Is there that little asterisk at the end of it, and then the right now is in really small writing at the bottom?
For now. No, big poster, like about 10 feet wide, right? Big thing. And all the comments are, "Oh, why are you celebrating that? It's only been 3 races. How can you say it's really embarrassing?" I think they are spot on to do this, and this is James Vowles down to a T. They have already scored more points in 3 races than they did in the entirety of last season, or the season before, or the season before that. So they are in very, very good form. And bear in mind, as Coops rightly said, it's sort of only with one driver so far. Alex Albon has been in phenomenal form. And what better way to motivate your team, who are currently working on a brand new rules regulations car next year, where the opportunities are endless for them. Motivate them to say, look what your work has already achieved. You've already outdone an entire year of work last year in 3 months, in 3 races. The
last time that they scored 3 races in a row was 2017, bear in mind, with Massa.
Yes,
so it's right to be motivating you with the poster outside, like you say. It's like, this is, of course, a celebration because look when the last time we did this was.
Exactly.
He's not just left the sport, or left the team, rather. He's left the sport, and we've been through a lot of drivers since then.
Yeah, the car was pretty good in 2017. Didn't Stroll get a podium for them in Baku that year? So the car was decent in 2017. You're right. So that's 8 years ago. Like, it's a long time since Williams have been had anything really to shout about. So just wanted to shout that out. I think on the topic of Williams, I'd love to see Carlos Sainz have a weekend as well. And again, this is the track to he's done the preseason testing here. Any changes or tweaks or setup changes he wants to do to the car to suit him a bit better, this is the place to do it, because they have the data of how Alex looks and how Carlos looks in the current version of the car, and this is the right place to do direct testing. Also, they have a full weekend. A full weekend with no rain, with no anything. It's not going to get washed out. They have Carlos Sainz at least is going to have a full 3 practice sessions to.
Who?
Is he giving up the car?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was Alex giving up the car. Oh well, even still, 2 full practice sessions to get it right, like it still makes a big difference. Alpine.
Yes,
They're always
they'll definitely be there.
They will be there. No, you're right. They will be there at a race that will happen this weekend. Just spitting out the facts. Last year they finished 17th and 18th. Ocon 17th, Gasly 18th. And predicting any worse than that this year? I think Gasly will probably do a little bit better than that this year. Thiemo, what do you think of Alpine's chances this weekend?
It's not looking great, is it? To be honest, it much like you asked me at the start, what are you hoping for this weekend? But it can only get better, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for Alpine. Because again, it's this weird thing of all the stuff behind the scenes. I'm not a big fan of. Gasly, I don't mind too much, but doing in that Alpine with the livery that they finally got right with his neat helmet, it just looks very, very nice, and I want him to do well based off that. But then that obviously means that the team does well, and I'm then conflicted. So I don't know where to go on this, but I think as long as you just do better than last year, which again, the bar is low, then fingers crossed. But they don't make it easy for themselves.
No, they certainly don't. They are the only team yet to score. And this weekend, again, it's becoming like Barcelona used to be. Especially now that it's a bit later in the season, it's fitting that mold a bit more. You do testing, you go somewhere else for 3 races that are completely irrelevant, and you come back to the testing track. And it's an opportunity for them this weekend. But do you sense, and we spoke about it in the Japan review earlier on in the week, and we'll leave a link to that if you want to go have a listen back to that, that the pressure is mounting on Doohan. It was always there, and his spectacular crash in practice made it worse. And then immediately you see the news, the Colapinto's testing in Monza. Like, is it a case that they're in the middle of a triple header and it's just too logistically awkward to put Colapinto in the car now, and we'll see him in whatever's after Saudi, Imola, Miami?
I think it's one of them. Yeah. I try not to think too much about the Miami race. It's just when I have to think about it, I'll think about it. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks. But Colapinto's coming in at some point. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Doohan could fling that Alpine in third and fourth and fifth, and Flavio will still put Colapinto in that car because that's what Flavio wants to do. It doesn't matter what Doohan does. Doesn't matter if they come out with some dodgy-ass explanation for the big crash in Suzuka and then basically throw Doohan under the bus and say, yeah, he done that. It's like Colapinto's coming in. But yeah, I don't know what Alpine are doing, and this is another weekend where they've got a car that looks decent and they're not putting the pieces together for whatever reason. And Gasly seemed like he was enjoying himself, and earlier on in the season, pre-season testing, he was enjoying himself and looking like, yeah, he's finally got everything together. He's relaxed. He's got a car that works under him. But no, Alpine will do what Alpine do and find a way to mess up.
Yeah, they certainly will. And we mentioned it during the week on the last show that we will probably need to do a full deep dive into Alpine. I think they've earned one, and it'll probably come when, not if, they make the driver swap of Doohan to Colapinto or Paul Aron, who was testing with them in Monza as well. Kind of came out of nowhere. And didn't they take Rio Harikawa as well? Like, they have.
Yep.
They have an
They've
endless
3 or 4,
supply.
at least.
Pushmani is the fourth one.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. Exactly as Thiemo said previously, it's they for some reason looked at Red Bull and thought, oh, you guys do business really well with young drivers, so let's just sign all of them. And it was 10 million they bought Colapinto out of his contract for. They didn't do that for him to drive a stealthy 2-year-old car in Monza once.
It's Alpine. They might have. You just don't know.
That's fair.
It's also a 3-year deal that Colapinto's got.
Yeah,
there is no way a driver is signing a deal for 3 years to sit and be a reserve driver. He's been given a guarantee he's going to be in the race.
Make sure you clip this to use against him in 3 years' time when he looks like a silly goose for saying this.
No, I think you're dead right. And actually, I know I just said that, will they wait until the end of the triple header, and it works perfectly for them. We've got Japan, Bahrain, Saudi, and then what's after that? Miami. Where's that close to? The closest to South America they're coming at this time of the year. Miami will be full of Argentinian fans. It will be anyway. And you announced the Colapinto's going into that, because they'll probably do it the Monday after Saudi. The Colapinto will be in the car for Miami, and you watch how white and blue that stadium turns. You think how big they were in Brazil for them? They'll be mad for, and Texas last year as well. They'll be mad for Miami. I think I'll clip that one too, and I might go back and remove it if I've gotten that really wrong. Let's get on then to a bit of fun predictions for the weekend then. Thiemo, who is going on pole position on Saturday?
Oscar Piastri.
Ooh, there's a shout. What makes you say Oscar Piastri? Just on vibes, or?
It just feels like it's the kind of thing Oscar Piastri would do.
Yeah, I like that. Coops, what about you? Do you think it's something Oscar will do, or is someone going to do it better than him?
No, I was going to say Oscar.
Interesting. Okay, so we're 2 out of 3. I'm going to say Lando for pole this weekend. But we are really showing our McLaren bias now, lads. Top 3 in the race then, Thiemo. Who's first, second, and third?
So don't worry, the McLaren bias ends here. I'm going to say, let's go a bit fun with this. Russell's going to win, Hamilton in second, Verstappen in third.
Oh, that is a wild one. What
the hell happened at the start of your race? Is
this the McLarens having their Mercedes Barcelona 2016 moment?
No, that's just going to be a good race.
Okay, well, I think George Russell is due a race win this season. I think he'll definitely get one. Didn't think it'd be this soon, but that is a shout. Coops, your top 3.
Before I go into that, just for everyone to know, that is Thiemo's overcompensating for such a poor Japanese Grand Prix.
I got Verstappen pole.
You did, but yeah, sometimes when you get one right, you have to rein in that ego before you start going a bit wild.
I've not learned that lesson yet.
No. I should know about ego, to be fair. Anyway, moving on.
Your top 3.
My top 3: Oscar, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Oscar, Hamilton, Verstappen. Oh, where does Lando go in your scenario?
Oh, he's retired.
Oh, interesting. Oh, well, I'm gonna bring him back into the fall. I'm going to say Lando. I'm going to say Lando, Charles, George.
What happened to Oscar?
Max hit him.
Oh.
Outside the car.
Well, we've set this up to be completely disappointed, haven't we?
My next question was going to be one wild prediction, but I think we've all kind of got a bit mad on that. So outside of the top 3,
I can give you one if you want.
Wild prediction outside of the top 3, Thiemo.
Doing P5.
Doing P5.
Nice.
You do know this is Bahrain, not Brazil.
Yeah. You wait till he gets to Brazil.
Coops, one wild prediction outside of the top 3.
Oh, damn.
He's taking a good one, isn't he?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda gets 4th.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to say Fernando Alonso scores 10 points. No, 10 points is too much. I'm going to say Fernando Alonso. 10 points is 4th place, isn't it? That's not realistic.
Yeah,
or 5th place. That's not realistic at all. Fernando
Alonso. It's a wild prediction. It's allowed.
That's a wild one.
Okay, Fernando leaves Bahrain ahead of Stroll in the championship, which means he has to score 11 points. Or 10 points with a better result. There we go. That's wild. That is really wild. I think we have either cooked there or we are straight into the glacier.
Oh, we went mental there, lads. This is going to be an interesting podcast when we go back and discuss our predictions.
If I don't get any of them, you won't see me for a while. I need to go and just have a think about what I've done.
Rethink your life choices on this one. If anybody from Formula One happens to be watching, this is what happens after a boring race. So, fix the cars. Right then, Bahrain Grand Prix. I'll give you the times again for it before we finish up this weekend. Normal times if you are in Europe, UK Ireland times for these. Friday 12:30 for practice 1, Friday 4 o'clock for practice 2, Saturday 1:30 for practice 3, and 5 o'clock for qualifying. And then the race is a perfectly lovely 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Delightful.
Yes, very, very delightful. So we will look forward to that. We'll be back next week with a review, hopefully a little bit more interesting than Japan was. So I will say thank you to Coops
Thank you.
and thank you to Thiemo.
Cheers.
And we will see probably one of you next week, and one of you might be hiding under a rock after those bizarre predictions. Or we are all coming back and our YouTube channel is about to explode because of how much we've cooked on that one. So it'll be one or the other. I hope it's the latter. Thank you all very, very much for listening. Do hit subscribe wherever you are listening. If you enjoyed the show, you've obviously on all podcast streams, or especially on YouTube. We have a new target now to hit 500 subscribers. The YouTube channel is new. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot to us, and it'd mean the world to us if you'd head over to YouTube. You'll find us Everything F1, all one word over there. Hit like and subscribe on the channel there and on the video. You'll find us on all socials as well, at Join EF1 or on TikTok at EF1 Official. And again, as I said before, we are busy at the moment. We're in the middle of a triple header, so check out everythingf1.com, our website, for daily news and articles of all things F1, F2, F3, Motorsport. We'll be very, very, very busy this weekend. Thank you as always as well to our sponsors, theraceworks.com. If you're looking for F1 or motorsport merch, if you're going to a race or you just want to deck yourself out in the newest kit, check out theraceworks.com and use code EF1 at checkout for 10% off site-wide. That'll do it. Enjoy the Bahrain Grand Prix and we will see you next week. Bye now.
Goodbye.